Uh, Coming now, come on. Time's up. Time's up.
Hello, everybody, and thank you guys for joining us again today on Another Planet podcast. I am here with my good friend, Mr. Jeffrey Young. Jeff, how's it going today, man? It feels like spring is in the air, dude. It's like 60 degrees out here today.
Yes, I am doing fantastic, Mr. Verba. I believe that we are out of the 30-degree temperature swings. So, yes, things are going great. How about you?
Oh, not too bad, man. Not too bad. Things are good. Hey, man, I was excited. We had a lot of feedback on Planet Podcast over our last episode when we got into a little bit of music discussion, which is always fun, and everybody's always has some good opinions, and it's nice to see kind of what people are talking about. One of the things I like out there is somebody referenced Vanilla Ice,
Yep.
and that was something that. Well, I grew up with Vanilla Ice also, so that was always good. And even like my kids to this day, like if they just say stop or something like that, it's always collaborate and listen.
Yeah.
That is like the first thing that comes to my head. So, but those were good discussions. So I just want to make sure, thank everybody for joining in on the conversation. Those are great conversations to be able to have. And, with a lot of that feedback, we kind of wanted to roll a little bit into that nostalgia. Those things that we used to listen to, used to watch, those toys that we used to play with, into this episode and see kind of what everybody out there, what did you guys used to have as toys and things like that. So Jeff, tell me a little bit about Jeff as a kid. What did Jeff play with when he was a kid?
Yeah, so I had a ton of Star Wars related stuff, obviously. So I was born in 77. An older brother, he was 8 years older than me. So I received a lot of the hand-me-down toys, which is perfectly fine. But yes, I see some of the stuff that floats around, from the Star Wars action figures that, somehow someone in, the late 70s and early 80s managed not to open these things. Um, and it's amazing to me that they were able to do that. But that stuff, GI Joe, that was a big one.
Oh yeah.
And then we started to get into gaming consoles, which we could probably do multiple podcasts on that. But yeah, it was really a lot of the Star Wars stuff. I believe my parents, who are a little bit of pack rats, still have that stuff floating around. Um, Probably not complete because I tended to break things and lose things. But what about you, man?
Probably a lot of the same. I mean, look, we're about the same age here, so we grew up kind of in that same generation. Definitely the Star Wars. I kick myself because I do wish I had some of those. And look, I had the Millennium Falcons. I had the Walker, the AT-ATs, I think they are, and a lot of those big toys that were just when I was a kid, fun as hell to play with.
Yep.
So I loved them. He-Man, GI Joe, Garbage Pail Kids.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yep. So not necessarily toys, but collecting stuff. So did the baseball card thing forever.
Okay.
And always got the be super excited and say hey, I got this 1985 Mark McGuire USA something or other, and my dad would be like, yeah, that's only worth what someone will pay. And trying to explain that to an 8 or 9-year-old me was like,
Right.
This is gonna be worth $1 million. Well, market on those
Someday.
But yes, it's funny because my parents have moved houses in the last couple of years, and I have actually come across Garbage Pail Kids, and I'm like,
Nice.
How is this still here? How is this never thrown away? Yeah, no, that's good. I'll see if I could track those down because I think they're actually in the basement of my house now.
Oh, you gotta track those down,
Yeah,
dude. I want to see them.
I
I used to have such a stack of those things. I loved them.
Well, and I think they reissued them, but I think they changed some of them because I guess now they're maybe not so politically correct in some of the ones that they had. Um, but yeah, I'll for our next podcast, I gotta see if there's a couple down there. That would be pretty funny. But I think I've got a few down there. Not all that I had by any means, but yeah, Garbage Pail Kids were a good time.
Dude, I love that. I was never a big I never really did like the baseball cards or football cards or anything like that. And football cards, clearly came out much later, and I don't even know from a popularity perspective how well that even took off. But Garbage Pail Kids, that was my thing, man. I love those things. I used to just bags of those things laying around. I wish I still had them. My kids would get a kick out of them. But yeah, I think there was probably a PC image. I do remember they reissued them because I remember my daughter coming to me and asking about them. I don't know if she saw them on like a commercial somewhere, and I was like, "Whoa, Garbage Pail Kids!" And I was looking at them, and I was like, weak." Yeah. not my generation.
Yeah, those aren't mine.
But what about like Christmas stuff? Like, was there like if you had to go back and say, there was one Christmas where I wanted this or I got that, and that was the best thing that you ever got? What would you say maybe the best thing that you ever got from a Christmas aspect might have been?
I think I have to go with the Nintendo. I think that was probably the best thing when I was a kid that I ever got. And little did my parents know how much time that would consume of my life and how much they would not see me after I got that. But I mean, it was, it was just amazing when that came out. And it was, I mean, we had Atari before and Commodore 64, but that wasn't Nintendo. Right now I got this little Mario guy running all over the place, and games that I can run around. And what was that, Contra, where you could run around and
up, down, left, right, VA start.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that, right? So yeah, I think it would have to be that. What about you?
I'm gonna agree with you, man. I think Nintendo was a game changer, man, because we did the same thing. We had the Ataris and you had Pong and stuff like that. But like, once Nintendo came out, and then Sega Genesis was the rival. Yeah. I had a TurboGrafx 16. So I was that kid that had the TurboGrafx 16 while everybody else was playing Sega Genesis. Yeah. But like, I loved it. And then I'll be honest, there's one game on TurboGrafx 16. It was Military Madness on TurboGrafx 16. I loved it. It was like this simple little stupid strategy game. But it's still like to this day, like I Google it to get the turbo packs that you could buy and just play on computer. What I keep wanting to say simulators, but emulators for TurboGrafx 16, because I love that game. But yeah, I would say Nintendo was the game changer, man, because it really kind of opened the door and really just mainstreamed it. Getting to level 7 and jumping on that shell like 500 times to getting all the all the extra lives.
Yeah, I've got to say that as much time as I spent playing Mario, I was miserable at that game. And I still am miserable at it. So we have the Switch now for my daughter plays it. I mean, we play Mario Kart.
Okay.
And we were able. I think you could download like the original Mario, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. I'm an adult. I'm gonna kick ass at this game.
I'll be able to roll right through this.
I am still terrible at that game. Like I don't know what it is. I've seen these YouTube videos, and I don't know if they're doctored or not, of people like running through the whole game in like 12 minutes. I'm like, well, how? Like, I can't. I get there and I warp, and then I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting running.
I don't know where I'm at. Like, fish are killing me.
There's fireballs.
I did that for my kids. I got them, we did the emulator, and we played Mario, and they literally like played it for like 30 seconds. They're like, really? They're like, no. Yeah. Like right back to the Xbox, right back to the Android or the tablets, and they're playing their games. They weren't having it. They didn't. To me, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the best game ever. And they're like, no, all you do is just jump up and down and go forward. I was like, yeah.
It's not like 3D and it doesn't move and
right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, what about the extra buttons and the triggers? Where are my extra weapons? Like, no, you don't get those.
Buttons on the top. There's just this. Yeah, my daughter and I were playing something over the weekend. What was it? Super Mario Olympics. I don't know. It was something again on Switch, and you can put it into like legacy mode, where it's the old like 8-bit looking characters and stuff.
Oh, no way!
And I did that, and she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Well, this is like how games like really old used to look like.
You broke it.
Yeah, and she's like, can we just like go back to the real stuff? Like, what is this? Why did you do this? All right, let me flip it back over. Just trying to have some fun. Sorry.
Yeah, currently I would say like my kids weren't having any of the old stuff, and like although I will say my son likes Pac-Man.
Okay.
He's 5, so we got like one of the little, the little small tabletop arcade games because he had to have Pac-Man. So he loves Pac-Man. I'll give him that. I mean, it doesn't last long. He'll play Pac-Man for all of 5 minutes, and then we got a slot machine. He loves the slot machine though. He's all over the slot machine. Loves the slot machine.
Like slot
I think I got
too.
pictures from when like he was 2. He's got a binky hanging out of his mouth, and he's just playing slots.
Nice.
It's the best picture ever. I'll have to see if I can find it. But yeah, so like he will do that. But I mean, I guess like nowadays, yeah, you find me playing Roblox with my kids all the time. Roblox and Minecraft, and I will give it like I like Minecraft. I like the concept of Minecraft. My 5-year-old, he'll only play creative. Like, for me, I'm like, yeah, it's cool for, 20 minutes, and, I build my temple or my house, and I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? Where he's like, oh, look, I built a pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies, and I was like, well, let's just play Plants vs. Zombies. A little bit more exciting, but, yeah, you find me a lot in Roblox and Minecraft now, so, yeah. Little Plants vs. Zombies. That's kind of where we've gone now from, Mario... to which my kids won't touch.
Yeah.
To now all we do is like Roblox and whatever they can find on their tablets and my phone and things like that. So, what about nowadays? So you mentioned the Switch.
Yeah.
Yep. So what other consoles is Jeff into?
I'm gonna say that's probably about it. I have.
Okay.
I have Wii's, I have Wii U, because again, you got to think of the time when my daughter was growing up. We were trying to play the more kid-friendly games, and you could throw stuff with the Wii and all that fun stuff. I do have an Xbox for games that I was playing on, and I don't know which one because I think there's like 4 or 5 different ones now. I have no clue which one I have. But that was the thing that we talked about before, right? I used to run around and play Call of Duty or whatever it was, and I would never do well playing online. And I was at my neighbor's house, and she had 2 kids that were probably 6 and 10. And they were playing one day when I was over there, and they were housing everybody. And I'm going, I'm an adult, and these are probably the age kids that are running and killing me in this game. And I'm fairly certain I really didn't play online after that because I was really frustrated. But I'm like, how can I not be good at this? Like, I can play Bond if anybody wants to play GoldenEye on what was that, N64. I'll play that game any day of the week, and I spent a whole lot of time playing that. But I'm getting killed in this other game, and I'm like, this is little kids. Little kids are killing me. I know they are.
Oh yeah.
And I never had the headset on because I don't need some little kid talking in my ear about it. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Go back to work, Grandpa.
Yeah, I'd be buying a new controller because I'd throw it at the wall.
It is, man. It is a brutal world out there right now in the online video game world, and it is. I mean, we're a different generation, man. Like, our controllers, they had 2 red buttons and an up and down pad.
Yeah.
Like, now it's a totally different world. Like, I play Halo with some folks over here at Verify, and we get on, we jam. But man, there's some days out there we're just like, man, these kids got to go to bed already because they're just destroying us.
Yeah.
And it's some 6-year-old, some 8-year-old sitting at his parents' house. They just got those little trigger fingers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I played really, really much after I saw that. But you mentioned the kind of tabletop console. I was walking through. So it was probably Sam's around Christmas last year or the year before, and they have these basically an arcade game that you can buy now. And I mean, they're like $300 or $400, and they had Mortal Kombat 2. And I stopped and I looked, and all that I could think of is, 1, how much money I spent playing that game. I absolutely love that game. 2, if I bring this home and set this up, how much trouble am I going to be in? Because I'm going to be like, hey, calling my daughter down and going, watch this. I'm going to rip this guy's spine out. And, with the finishing moves. But yeah, I joked that, my friends and I, putting the quarter up on the screen, my friends and I probably pumped enough money into those
Oh God.
yeah, at the local store where you could go and play it, right? That I
Yep.
should probably own like 5 or 6 of those machines at this point.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat was one. I was a big Killer Instinct guy. I was a big Killer Instinct arcade guy, and that was, same concept. It's a fighting game, and yeah, I was huge on that game. Like, so that's one of the ones. Like, I think I even saw it on Xbox, and I looked at my son. He's 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, should we get Killer Instinct? He's like, no, that game looks a little scary. I was like, it'll be all right. He's like, no. I was like, all right, next year.
Yeah, why is your head laying on the ground?
Right.
a
But
good
you
one.
gotta love it. I mean, that was, that was what we, when we grew up, those were the games, man. Like, that was it. So speaking of games, going back, let's a little nostalgia. What was your, man? This is a tough question too, because I have so many thoughts going through my head. What was your game as Jeff as a kid? What was your favorite game as a kid?
Yeah, I think it was probably. You can almost go off console, right? Because they came out at such different times. Um,
Yeah.
Big fan of Mortal Kombat, but that was obviously when I was. Ooh, I'm gonna say. Heck, one of my friends was driving at that point, so that was probably 14, 15, 16 years old. Going
Okay.
before that, I would say Contra was up there. Um,
Nice.
Enjoyed playing some Sonic.
Oh yeah.
Once I got out of the Nintendo world into Sega. But I'm gonna say it was probably Contra, and absolutely I cheated to get the lives. Because you had to.
You had to.
Yeah. You had to, right? And again, everybody remembers that code, right? It's just
Oh yeah.
ingrained, and it pops up on TV shows every once in a while, which I think
Yep.
is hilarious. Um, but yeah, I would have to say Contra again. You could almost pick console and say what's your favorite game, but what
Yeah.
about you? What's your favorite game?
It's tough, man. I like the Metroid series. If you remember the Metroid series games, those were always a blast. Different weapons, back, forth, up, down. But I'd probably have to say I'm gonna go with the Zeldas, man.
Yeah.
The Zelda series was just phenomenal, man, because it started kind of that quest, and obviously, like a little bit different than like the Final Fantasies and stuff that came that were more of the role play games. But it started that whole quest, and it kind of makes me want to play Zelda right now,
Yeah.
because that was an awesome game. But I would have to say, if I had to pick one, if I was stuck on a desert island with one video game,
Oh, here we go.
it's probably gonna have to be Zelda, man. And unfortunately, they put out Zelda 2, which was Link, which was absolutely horrible, I thought. But the original Zelda was just a phenomenal game, and I think that it makes me want to go out and get a Nintendo, because I think the new Zeldas are out too, and those are supposed to be phenomenal, and obviously much different than when we were a kid. But yeah, I would say the Zeldas are probably my number one, followed by the Metroids. I really like the Metroids. I enjoyed playing those.
Yeah, one of my best friends always did Zelda. I never played Zelda. It just wasn't my thing. Now, when I got older and started playing, PC games, which again is another
Yeah.
rabbit hole
Yep.
we could go down. Those more adventure games, right? I like those a lot. Where my brother, again, it was older than me, came in the room and was like, "Dude, this is Dungeons and Dragons on the computer." And I'm like, "No, no, Dungeons and Dragons is nerdy." Well, I don't even know what Dungeons and Dragons was at that point, but I'm like, "No," while I'm running around, as a wizard doing things.
As a wizard and a staff.
Yeah. And he's like, "Dude, this is totally all they did was put this on a computer." But yeah, I didn't do Zelda. I know they have Zelda for Switch. Just again because that's mainly what my daughter and wife and I play, just because we like to play Mario Kart and throw stuff at each other and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is primarily why we have that. But yeah, I know that there's a Zelda out floating around, but again, I have never got into it. I guess I should check it out.
Yeah, dude, it's worth checking out, man. It's a good quality game. And now, literally after this call, I'm going to be trying to find an emulator to play Zelda.
Yeah.
Because now even the theme song is running through my head. The Zelda theme song is running through my head.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. I've seen people build, and I don't know, so I don't condone this. I don't know the legality behind it, but I've seen those crazy systems that people build that have like 30,000 games on them.
Yeah.
It's something you can build in your house, and I don't know the legitimacy behind it. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there's absolutely no legitimacy
Yeah.
behind that whatsoever.
And I've just seen this where it's like, whoa, that is pretty insane to see. But I don't know where they're getting the stuff from. I don't know. I'm assuming Raspberry Pi is running something in the back. Who knows, right? But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, maybe I'll just like going back to my Mortal Kombat. Maybe it's like $300 at Sam's or off Walmart's website or whatever. Maybe I'll just buy that and I don't need people knocking on my door because I'm playing video games.
Because you downloaded the emulator up, you got a torrent with the emulator on it.
Yeah. No, I don't want that. I don't want that at this point in my life. No, I might have been a little riskier when I was younger, but now I'm kind of like, if I get arrested for having bootleg video games, I'm pretty sure my wife would be super unhappy with me.
Mr. Young, we noticed that you downloaded Mario Kart on your computer.
I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of explaining to do and unhappiness here in Swansea, Illinois.
Well, that was an awesome trip down memory lane, man. And like I said, even some of those video games, like I still like to play them. I have a good time. My kids, not so much. But you know what? I have a good time with it. Some of the stuff that they, some of the stuff I see them kick off is, my kids nowadays is, I see a lot of nostalgic reboots. So I always look forward to those. And, my kids are younger, so they always got to bring a lot of that stuff to my attention. And look, I'll download whatever. I'll play any video game they break out. And I'm like, yeah, let's jam on it. Cuphead, Mugman, whatever. I jam. Yeah. But yeah, definitely a good trip down memory lane.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to talk a little bit Verify related stuff.
We do.
And I think it's good that obviously we can have these conversations. We'll get something out on podcast because again, we got a lot of good information on Planet. It was interesting seeing what people liked and disliked from the music conversation before. So I think we'll kind of carry that into the video game related stuff. And we can also, again, it started out as kind of those nostalgic toys. But I think given, like you said, Vic, our age, right, we kind of evolved into video games pretty quickly and probably never looked back after that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so we'll get something there on Planet. But from a Verify standpoint, again, we've got the version 13 EFT. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're kind of continuing the EFT release throughout March, we got about a week left in March, and we're going to hit up our final one. The one that took place this week was database archiving and things like that, and that's something that I'm super excited about. Like, I can't wait to get that out. So if you missed that, make sure you take a look at that on our workshops, and you can hit those at verify.com, and just head over to our webinars channel and take a look at that. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. We are getting ready to roll out our April our workshop series, and I keep calling them webinars, man. I got to keep correcting myself as we change the name of those guys. I've been doing it too long. But as we get ready to roll those out, we're going to have some more going on for the month of April. So make sure you guys take a look. EFT is going to be hopefully rolling out. Expected target is in April. So we expect to start rolling out some of those things that we've been talking about all this month. Super excited about that. And that'll kind of gear us up towards our 13.0 release. So definitely keep an eye out at the workshops as we start to roll, because besides just the stuff that we're really going into EFT for, we're going to have a lot of stuff coming out in that general release, that GA release that, we haven't even hit up in EFT. It's just really not something that we need to beta test or EFT test. So keep an eye out on the workshops and the webinars, just to make sure you're keeping up to date with what's coming out, some of the changes that we're making, lots of good stuff coming out.
Awesome. So everybody keep an eye out for some discussions there on Planet. Also keep an eye out for any of the EFT and the what's new stuff coming, and we will talk to everybody soon. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Time's up.
Time's up.